I need to talk to my fellow Christians today, my brothers, my sisters. I know immigration is not a topic that is easy, but we need to have this conversation because many of you may not realize that I'm in pain right now and that you have, perhaps without realizing it, contributed to my pain. So I feel like we should talk because I don't think it was okay that many of you chose to elect a leader in this country who, speaking out of fear, is promising to deport me and my family. And I know you're good people. I've seen you help at church, at shelters, care for the elderly. I've seen you bring food to people in need. And I know from experience that you don't really mean for all immigrants to be out of this country. And many of you have told me that I shouldn't have to worry, that you would be there to protect me, and that you wouldn't let anybody take me away. So I just don't understand. How could you have supported a leader who's promising to separate so many families, deporting millions of immigrants who are just trying to provide for their families? I know that sometimes we are disappointed at our politicians because they don't always do what they said they would do. And some of you, I know, are counting on our politicians to not deliver on their promises to deport all undocumented immigrants. But your hopes are not enough for me right now. Not when I have to fill out an emergency plan for my children. For who should they call in the event that ICE picks me up? Just the thought alone of this possibility is forcing me and my children to live in so much anxiety. I really don't want my children to be taken into foster care, to be left up for grabs, to a destiny without a mother. So this is especially why I need to talk to you. Because I know that in our Christian faith, we are told to love people, not to judge them. There is a teaching in the Holy Scriptures about a woman who was about to be killed by a mob. The mob was about to stone her to death because she had committed a sin. But Jesus stood up for her. He challenged the mob with these words: "Let him who is free of sin cast the first stone." And so how the story goes is that there was no one who was able to throw a stone at the woman. Because indeed, as human beings, we all fall short. We all make mistakes. But I'm here to tell you that even though you may think that my family and I made a mistake by coming here undocumented, if you know me, you know we never had any intentions of doing any harm. But I want you to know, from what I've seen in my community, most of the people who came here and crossed that border undocumented, they did it just like my family, simply trying to survive. Yeah, we would have chosen a safe and legal path, one without wandering in the desert, without the freezing cold of the nights, one without thorns digging into our feet, without threats of robbers and smugglers, and without having to carry tired little children for miles and miles. Yeah, we would have chosen another way, if there only would have been another way. But there's something you need to know. I know from my experience of crossing the border that my family and I were not alone in this journey. We were being held by God's hand into this country. When I see the beautiful, happy faces of my children, I know that I was meant to be here with them and to be part of this beautiful community that I also dearly love. But I cannot continue to sit with you in silence at church while watching my family and friends get deported back across that desert that we risked everything to cross, or to be called harming names, to be living in the shadows, picking the fruit, but not eating the fruit. Being told that because we were born in another country, no matter how much we give, how hard we work, we will never be part of this country. And we will never sit at the table with Americans. And so that's why I'm talking to you today. There are too many families suffering, being separated. Too many refugees being sent back to their deaths. There are too many of us devastated by watching the present circumstances around us, like children in cages, the tear gas at the border, the realization that at any moment our beautiful life could be snatched away from us. I find guidance in the teachings of Jesus and the way he stood up to a mob to save a life. I find hope in my allies who are standing with me and my friends against these cruel immigration policies. And I pray that you will stand with us. Please think of my children and all the other undocumented immigrants who are suffering in this country. If you know Jesus loves you. So please remember that as Christians, our biggest and greatest commandment is to love one another. If we stand together, we can learn from our faults. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. Our leaders have made mistakes. But together, we can stand in God's love.